Hello, welcome. Oh, where'd I go? Hello, here I am. Welcome. 420 Live. I'm Jeff Kravitz. Welcome. We are at Glass House Farms, and it is hot and sweaty. I'm inside a grow. I'm in this beautiful greenhouse in the middle of Carpinteria at a secret location. That's right. I don't want to tell you where it is because you guys, I know you guys, you would all come here and you'd be smoking it up. So, we've had an amazing stretch here on 420 Live, and 420 is one of our favorite times of the day. And I figured what a better way to kick off 420 for Memorial Day weekend than inside an actual weed grow. So here we are. It's a cannabis farms. It's really, really big. So hopefully you guys can see it all. And I know we're up in the middle of the sticks, but hopefully it'll work. And it's really hot and sweaty. So I'm going to be doing a lot of this today because I'm schwitzing like a nut. Anyway, my friend Graham Farrar is the CEO of Glass House, and I have him right here. I'm going to bring him in here. We're going to split the mic. Come on over here, Graham. Be careful. Don't kill yourself. Yeah. Let's see. Are we in?
Yeah,
there we go.
What's happening? How's everybody doing? Happy Memorial Day. Happy 420.
Thank you for having us here at your beautiful farm.
Our pleasure.
How long have you been here?
So in this location, we've been here about 6 months now. We've been doing this up in Carpinteria for almost half a decade, so about 5 years. We've got two farms between the two, about 500,000 square feet. This farm that we're at here is 355,000 square feet, and our other one's 150,000 square feet.
How many plants do you get in 500,000 square feet?
Yes, a lot is the short answer. We plant about one plant for every two square feet. So we've got about somewhere around 250,000 square feet of canopy here. So it's 125,000 plants, and we harvest 5-6 times a year. So there'll be a pretty decent number of plants that go through here.
Jesus, that's crazy. Yeah. And it smells so good.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so fragrant.
No, it smells better. I mean, it's the best air you can find. I mean, not only all these plants sucking up all the carbon dioxide and filling the place with oxygen, but then you got all those great terpenes and everything too. So
right.
It smells delicious.
All the different scents and stuff. So when I first met you, you were involved with Sonos,
yep.
Which is all my friends are music fans. So everybody out there has a Sonos.
Doesn't get any better 14 years later, and it's still the best thing out there for streaming music.
It's incredible. So you've always been looking for new technologies and things to get into. Has that been like the focus of your life?
Yeah, I mean, if there's a common thread for me, I've got a lot of experience doing things people have no experience doing. And so at the time that we started Sonos, I was lucky enough to be one of the early folks there with John McFarlane and Trung and a couple of the other guys. John was the CEO. And 14 years ago, he had the vision to say we're gonna get rid of the 100-disc changer that you have, that 6-disc little spin around thing, and we're gonna make this all digital, right? We're basically gonna make an iPod for your house. And at the time, I mean, it's kind of hard. You think back on it, and there was no Spotify. That was almost, you could barely buy a song on MP3 from Apple, right?
Right.
I mean, so this was back in those days. To get people to use Sonos, you had to take all your CDs, put them in a box, send it somewhere, wait 3 weeks. They ripped it onto a hard disk for you, and they sent you back a hard disk. Like that was the hurdle to even be a Sonos customer, that or LimeWire or Napster.
I digitized a lot of my stuff myself, just putting the CDs in.
Exactly, right? I mean, it's the point being that back then, like, no Spotify, no Rhapsody, no Apple Music, none of this stuff.
Right. Well, we had our iPods.
Yeah,
But Sonos worked with your iPod, and back in the original days, you had all kinds of bridges that used your old system and stuff. I mean, it was amazing technology.
It's amazing. So anyway, but at the time, it was very it was kind of out there. It was slightly, one step over the horizon. And then this, we did some other things after that. Started a company making apps for kids when the iPhone was brand new, and then always been a huge cannabis fan. Think it's good for society, think it makes us a better place, society's better with weed, and that the moral arc of the universe is long, like Martin Luther King Jr. says, but it bends towards justice. So we always thought this was going to happen. So half a decade ago, and it was far from certain, we started laying the foundation for this, and so here we are.
But it accelerated at a really fast rate. Like we did not see it coming. Here, you want a little bit of this?
Yeah, I mean, I said they don't call these hot houses for nothing.
It is unbelievable, the temperature in here.
Yeah.
but just the feeling here is so good. Like there's so much. Are you pumping oxygen in here too?
No, the plants are actually breathing in CO2, and in some of our greenhouses we supplement with CO2. They have to breathe that like we breathe oxygen, and they breathe in the CO2, and then they breathe that oxygen. So the plants are really what's pumping the oxygen in here.
So now I want to talk to you. So what I know about weed farming is that the mother plant is always in a 24-hour light. So do you have rooms that have the 24-hour lights to keep the mothers going? That's indoor, right?
Yeah, no, that's actually so we have a dedicated nursery greenhouse. It's about 50,000 square feet. It's just nursery, or what you call veg. So the way that cannabis works, it's called day plant. So less than 12 hours a day, and it buds. More than 12 hours a day, and it gets bigger. So what we do is we have a photoperiod light, which basically allows us to trick the plants into thinking it's a different time of the year than it is. So when we want the plants to get bigger, during the summer, we just let them see what's going on outside, and they get bigger. In the winter, they would normally flower, so we add a little bit of light to make them think the day's longer, and so they keep vegging, getting larger, and then when they're as big as we want them, then we change the light cycle on them. So right now in here, we do the opposite, which is, I don't know if you can see it, but those black kind of bands back there are called blackout curtains. So the days right now are about 14 hours long. These plants would never flower. They never have buds at this time of year, but those curtains close, and so at 12 hours of light we close the curtains. The plants go in the dark. They say, oh shit, it's winter, I better get flowering and make their buds, and we kind of trick them into doing it.
So light deprivation is the technical term, right? And so you also supplement with light then also?
So, just a little bit. It's called photoperiod light. So it's not light to make them grow. The climate here in Santa Barbara is so good that we don't need to add light. It's just enough light to trick them into thinking the day is longer than it is.
So the vegetative stage takes different light than the budding stage, right? So you have to have more intense light when it's budding and stuff like that. And does the sun give you enough of that intensity in the winter? Because that's
I mean, Santa Barbara is a pretty great climate, right? We got 330 days a year of sunshine. The weather's always kind of that 65 to 80 at the very most. We're here across the street essentially from the ocean, so every afternoon we get that ocean breeze that comes in, and the light's really good. There's a lot more of it in the summer. So the kind of, I think the default is, hey, it's a 14-hour day, it's a 10-hour day, it's 40% more light. It's actually about 2.5 times more light in the peak of the summer than the trough of the winter, but it's always pretty darn good.
Yeah, it looks and smells amazing. How did you get into cannabis? Like because it takes a step to go from being a hobbyist into like a legal situation.
I mean, like a long time, 25 years of loving the plant, and have been doing, kind of smaller things for a long time to understand it. Started a company that made picks and shovels, so to speak, for cannabis fertilizer and things like that, and found that we had a lot of customers that ended up being right in Santa Barbara's my hometown, so right in our backyard here, and realized that cannabis and agriculture, and this is agriculture, right? It happens to be for a plant that we love a lot, but at the end of the day, when you're doing this, agricultural practices and planning and precision and data and all those things are really key. Realized that nobody actually really knew how to grow cannabis, how to grow craft cannabis at scale. And so that's what we set out to do, and got the first farm back in 2015 with, my partner is a real estate guy, great guy named Kyle. And he believed in the real estate, and I was the ops, and we came together and made that thing work, and said, hey, this is fucking awesome. How do we go bigger? And this is the bigger.
So you were learning on the job?
Yeah. I mean, everybody's learning on the job, right? I mean, there's 25-year cannabis guys and there's 25-year greenhouse guys, but the only 25-year cannabis greenhouse guys are all in prison. So, the reality is like to do this fully licensed, the sheriff comes and tours, the planning department comes, the fire department, like the CDFA. I mean, we have 13 different agencies that oversee us. So to do this in a fully legal way is, Prop 64 is, it's 2 years old. So it's a pretty new thing to be able to do this and not be looking over your shoulder for the po-po all the time.
Did you find that because most of the complaints I hear about legal cannabis business is just how much the tax is, how much the licensing is, how they keep moving the goalposts in the early days, so you thought it would cost you X amount of dollars, and oh no, I have this.
It's more like 10x. Whatever the normal rule of thumb is twice as long and twice as much, and like cannabis, it's you double it a few more times after that. So they certainly don't make it easy. It's a new thing. I mean, but the challenge is the opportunity, right? If this was easy, some tomato farmer who is really good at tomatoes would just come in and kick, wipe up with us. But the reality is that they can't because they don't know, and it's hard. And if you're not 100% dedicated to this, it does not just fall on your lap.
And then on the flip side, there are a lot of people that were in business for decades that ended up having to they go bankrupt.
Yeah, they totally changed the rules. I mean, the Prop 215 rules and the Prop 64 rules are almost unrelated. I mean, it's, in a lot of respect and appreciation for everybody that helped kind of forge the path to here. But it definitely it's changed from what it used to be. I think change is an inevitable thing, and I think we're bringing more cannabis to more people than ever. But it's the priority of hide first, grow second is kind of gone. Now it's grow and be good at that, and that's the focus. Which at the end of the day, I think is more safer, better cannabis at a more reasonable price for people. The taxes are way too high still.
Yeah, the taxes are ridiculous. I mean, I spent $400 last week. It was extra $150.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wow, I could have bought so much more weed with that.
And it's way overtaxed, right? And one of the side effects of that is that it actually encourages the illicit market, which they'd get more tax revenue if they lowered the tax and brought those people into there. We have a dispensary, the Pharmacy Santa Barbara and the Pottery in LA and the Bud and Bloom in Santa Ana and Pharmacy up in Berkeley.
So these are all retail places that you own and operate under Glass House?
Yeah, they're the Pharmacy brand and the Pottery brand, but they're all part of the Glass House group. Yeah. So
was it hard to be in retail and in farming, or do they encourage it?
It's not hard from the point of view of the licensing, but it's entirely own separate business.
Right, because you retail compared to farming. I mean, these are all, and they're not, neither of them are easy industries.
No, they're not. Retail's not an easy thing. Farming's not an easy thing, and you put cannabis on it, it makes it twice as hard. So, but when you take something off our shelf, we see it firsthand, right? A $50 eighth, half of that is taxes. Half of that's totally out of our control, not in our pocket at all. It's the taxes for the county or the state. Or
wait, $50 including tax? That's not bad, because in LA it's $50 or $60 plus tax.
Yeah.
And that could end up being like $85 for an eighth.
Yeah, it's crazy. So we got to fix that. That's something we're working on. I think the state would actually get more money if they lowered the tax rate.
I think so too.
They'd get less tax on more, which is going to be a net
well,
positive.
it would be great if you could wipe the black market out and have everybody in the legal market. I mean, that happened with booze.
Yeah.
Eventually everybody stopped bootlegging liquor,
right.
But
there's nowhere to go get gas with no tax, right? If they are going to allow this here, I'm going to go open a gas station where you sell gas with no tax for half price and sell a lot. So,
but according to the law, you can grow in your house, right?
Yes, 6 plants is the limit. I mean, you got to pay attention to your state, or your city or your county rules as well. But yes, you still are allowed, thankfully, to grow for your own if you want.
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible a law that you can do it yourself. It is something easy enough to do yourself.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I think like brewing beer, right? Brewing your own beer, maybe not something the average person is going to do over and over, but it gives you a ton of appreciation to do it. So that when you do buy something, you can appreciate like how much work and love it takes to fill that jar up. So I'd highly recommend it for people.
How much of this is on automated?
Almost, I mean, all of it from a climate point of view. We are, for Glass House, quality, consistency are the two kind of biggest, poles or legs of our stool. And consistency means that you really need to know exactly what you did to get where you are so that you can repeat it, right? And in some ways, that's even more important than perfection. A hole in one won't win you a golf game, right? It's you do much better if you hit par every single time.
Of course.
And so for us, automating things allows us to be very precise about what we do. When we get something wrong, we can figure it out. We can make a change, and when we get it right, we can do that over and over and over again. And so that's automation. So all the ridge vents, all the fans, all the blackout, all the heaters, all the fertigation, the nutrition that it gets, and the fertilizer, all totally computer controlled.
And can you do that from home, or is it?
Yeah, we can access it from your phone. I mean, we have a grower's office here for the daily operations, but yeah, if something, we can call and check in, and lots of cool stuff. We have a sensor for light, so if it's a sunny day, the plants will get more water than if it's a cloudy day, and the computer figures all that out.
Oh, and it knows that they're going to use more, or if it's raining, not to water them as much.
Yep, exactly.
And also balances their fertilizers and makes sure the pH is right.
Yep.
How do you deal with varmints and rodents and insects?
Yeah, the varmints are the rodents are not the big thing for us. It's more it's plant stuff. So you have powdery mildew, botrytis, spider mites, all the things that any home grower would be well familiar with. Root aphids, kind of all the regular agricultural bug challenges. we are basically a pesticide-free farm. Part of that is because we think that's the right thing to do, and growing clean cannabis is at the top of our list. The other part is that state's testing is crazy. If we tested our food like we test our cannabis, you would have a lot less people dying. Every time you hear about someone from E. coli or lettuce or whatever, we have to test every 50 pounds of cannabis has to get its own test, which includes 66 different pesticides down to parts per billion. E. coli, aspergillus, salmonella, mycotoxins, heavy metals. So every single pound out of here is tested. It makes organic look like you pulled it out of the gutter. And so the great thing about that is, when you buy some licensed cannabis that it's clean and tested. Challenge for us is we need to control those pests, essentially chemical free. So it makes a challenge. We use a lot of beneficial insects, IPM, and what they call it, integrated pest management. So we use bugs instead of chemicals. It's actually pretty awesome.
And so you have bug management. You have a bug team.
Yeah, we do. I mean, I don't know. What's our bug budget? We probably spend $12,000 a month in bugs.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So we just take nature and tilt her in our favor rather than a nuclear annihilation with chemicals. We use nature.
And what's the medium? Is it soil?
It's actually cocoa. It looks like soil, but it's cocoa, which is shredded coconut husks. It's a byproduct of coconut farming from India and Sri Lanka. So it's actually pretty neat to be able to reuse something that people are throwing away.
And how many different strains growing in here?
We probably have 40 different strains, and at any one time, we're probably growing 20 of them. We have kind of seasonal strains and lots of fun stuff. If I look around here, triple chocolate chip, platinum OG, forbidden fruit, which I wish you
we could smell it.
Had a scratch and sniff.
It smells like sweet pink grapefruit or something. It's delicious.
Amazing. Is it like that? It reminds me of that Hawaiian fruit punch, when you're in Hawaii and you get that bright red stuff. That's what it smells like to me. Devil's Johnson is actually a strain that we bred in-house. It's a combination of Purple Johnson and Hell's Fire. So we call it Devil's Johnson.
And if you could see on the very bottom of all these plants, there's a little blue tags. You want to talk about what those are?
Yeah, so those little blue tags are metric tags. Metric is the state of California's track and trace system. So every single plant in here is actually registered with the state of California.
So you got 500,000 space, you got 2 plants per square foot, you got 250,000 plants, let's say, around Bound Park, and the government's tracing everyone that you have, and then the 250,000 your neighbor probably has, and him too. So how does that work?
There's a system called Metric that we upload it to on a daily basis. So if you think about the IRS and maybe they audit like 0.5% of tax returns, this is the equivalent of mailing the IRS your bank statements every day, right? So that's like every day they want to see what plants they are, where they are, when they're harvested, when they dry, where to go from the wet weight to the dry weight. When you throw it away, how many stems did you throw out? Like the whole thing. They want every single gram accounted for. When you pick a jar up off the shelf of like Glass House Farms, the state could tell you, we could tell you that everything from that jar, we could trace it all the way back to the clone and the mom that it was taken from.
Wow.
Crazy.
And that way, if there's any problems or anything like that, and how do you keep quality control? Because I mean, to me, I would think that would be the hardest thing.
Yeah, it is. Scale is a challenge. Craft is a challenge. Craft at scale is a big challenge.
Yeah, and that's because craft and scale are really like a craft beer is something that's small typically, and you're calling this craft, but it's like.
So I think a couple of things are interesting. One is, I would argue that everything in cannabis is still fairly craft, right? I mean, this feels big because of its cannabis. This is tiny for agriculture, right? At some point in the future, Budweiser will show up, but it's not here, right? I mean, we at best we
or Marlboro, Marlboro.
Yeah,
I can't even say it.
We, at best we could hope to be Lagunitas or something like that, right? It feels big right now, but it won't be. It's not in an agricultural sense. So what we try and do is we got a great team. A lot of people that really love the plant here, a lot of people who have been doing this for decades, and so they know what good weed looks like. And then we have amazing tools. So that's really, rather than taking the love that you would have in your 6 plants and diluting it, what we're really trying to do is amplify it, right? So we get to have a lot, we got agronomists and facilities managers and people who are dedicated to programming the computer, and that allows us to keep that love of the plant but scale it up. So that's what we're working on.
So you're keeping the quality inside. Now, for me, I've been the huge hydro guy. Like my thing is always like hydro.
This is technically hydro.
Oh, because of
it's cocoa. It's inert medium. There's no nutrients in the soil. It's not actually soil. It's coconut husk. Everything we give it comes in the water. So we give the plant exactly what it needs. So technically this is all hydro. It's just done with cocoa instead of.
And do you find that the buds, because usually I see the construction in the buds a little bit different between what comes out of a hothouse and what comes out of a room.
Yeah, that's a function of the light intensity. So greenhouse without supplement or any facility with lower light is going to have a slightly less dense bud compared to something that has, double-ended HPSs at 2 feet off the canopy and absolutely blasting. So it's interesting, right? In some ways, like, why do you like denser buds?
Well, I just love the hydro because I got so used to that manicured, big, puffy, it's pretty and it smells good. And they're dense, they have there's a different density than an outdoor.
Yeah, for sure. It is. It's interesting because I'm one of the things I'm watching is that as new consumers come to the market, which I think is awesome because I think the more people that experience cannabis, the better our world is. There's less people like us that have that thing, so they don't have that reference. So when they see a bud that's that's this tight instead of that tight, it's like it doesn't even kind of register. And at the end of the day, I roll joints personally, so however dense the bud is, I break it into pieces and roll it in a joint.
Right,
so
of course, it all goes in the grinder.
The same ways anyway. So I'm watching to see if people can.
But even when I noticed that when I have some indoor as compared to some thing to be in the greenhouse or outdoor, that when you grind it too, what's left is different too. The way it looks looks a little bit sandier maybe when it's something that's grown outside than when inside where it comes out really sticky and dense. It's just a different. They seem different to me.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying is that it's still weed and it's going to have the desired effect, and especially if you're smoking in a doob, and it's probably even tastier when it comes out. Do you think?
Yeah, I like. So one of the reasons I really like greenhouse is if you think about kind of the outdoor greenhouse outdoor thing, the greenhouse is kind of the perfect nexus, right? So we're working with Mother Nature, but we're also controlling the climate, right? So it's this hybrid between outdoor, we're just whatever. If it's a windy day, you can blow the trichomes off. If it rains, the buds get washed. Like these plants never get rained on.
Right.
At the same time, we don't have to have artificial lights and a bunch of air conditioning. We use the sun to give them what they need. So it's this really kind of cool, in combination or inflection point, right? Where it's working with Mother Nature, but controlling her just enough to create the ideal climate. I mean, most of this stuff, everything in here is 22% or higher testing. So from a potency point of view, we had some stuff last summer that was 29 and 30%.
Whoa.
So it's like, you're not missing.
So that's pulling exactly the same you would in a hydro grow. And I guess you're not really missing that much. What about your extracts and edibles and all that kind of stuff? You into that?
Yeah, for sure. We have 4 brands that they're all kind of, this is the engine for them. Glasshouse Farms is flower. Forbidden Flowers is also flower. That's a cool brand that we created with the actress Bella Thorne. It's doing really well. It's neat. She's awesome because she talks to a demographic that is kind of ignored sometimes in cannabis, the young females, right? So 21 plus females who are really the kind of curious, trying to, how does this thing work, right? They're not the legacy people that have been going into shops for 20 years. And then we have Field, which is an awesome, really cool connoisseur extract brand. Everything is fresh frozen, which means that we never dry the buds out. We take them right out of this greenhouse, fresh with all the terpenes and all the smells and all the cannabinoids. And then we freeze them here, at the greenhouse, and then take them to a lab and for live rosin, it's solventless. So it's just cold water that washes all the good stuff off of them. You evaporate the water, or for live resin, it uses a cold hydrocarbon to wash it off. And the flavor and taste on those is just absolutely amazing.
You're doing rosin, this pressing the rosins too?
Press it too. Yeah, they do all those. Live rosin. I mean, that's the Field vape pens are the best tasting ones I've had. And then if you get the live rosin, put it in your dab rig, that's kind of the pinnacle of the whole thing.
Yeah, everybody's loving the dabs and the oils. And
we have a new thing coming out with Field and a company called Airgraft, which I was going to say is the highest quality vaporizer hardware out there. It's just about to hit the market, just started last week. And you definitely, I'll get you a sample and you got to try that out.
I want to try
it. The flavor is all time.
Let's see the iPad keys. Let's see if we can do a little walking tour. We're going to try something completely different and see if this works. It looks a little jumpy here, but you're all right there? I'm sure you all want to dive in back there.
I wish we could put the smell-o-vision on.
It is something else. The weed dining. It's good to see all you guys today on our special adventure.
Julie Posner on there. What's up, Julie? How's it going? There's my mom. My mom's there. Hi, Mom.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Philippa. Is that Philippa?
Yeah, Philippa, yeah.
Oh, Philippa. And Keeks, I think I already have the Wi-Fi on, so maybe.
Please host the
Oh, well, see if you can just try to go in there. Because we are hosting on the laptop. We could always take the laptop around, but that'd be really bulky.
Can you send me a guest text?
You want what, a guest link?
Yeah, send me a guest link to mom's text phone number.
Hold on. Copy the clipboards. Yeah, I know. I'm schwitzing.
I know it's hot in here.
It's hot.
That's like it.
Yeah, well, humans, they sit in air conditioning.
Yeah.
Hold on.
These greenhouses are made for the plants, not the people.
Let's see here.
Oh no. No perspiration.
Yeah, somehow she's not sweating. I don't know how you guys do that over there.
Here we go. There's Jules. And there we go. Boom, boom, and boom. Let's see if this works. It should be going now. Here, I got my Schwitz rag. Okay. You have the StreamYard. Let's give it a second here. So we look good in front of that green, Graham. I gotta say, you didn't sell this short at all.
Yeah.
This looks so good, man.
So just
can you go on this one, which is the 18th?
So just a reference for people. So what you're looking at behind us is about maybe 10,000 square feet. So that's like 1/20th of this facility that you can see behind us there. So it's a pretty good sized operation. We run it all on rolling trays. So one of the things you'll notice is that canopy doesn't really have any holes. There's no aisles or anything like that. It's just a plant after plant after plant, which makes it a really efficient setup.
Oh God, I just want to set the whole thing on fire. How's that? We got a little singing? Nothing. All right. No?
It's telling me to host it from. Are you sending me a host link?
No, I was just sending you a guest link, but I tried to get you in there originally. That's fine. If you guys have any questions for Graham, this would be a good time. Yeah, this would be a good show for a live audience.
I like that.
Thanks, Dan.
That's great.
That is pretty funny. There's Julie.
Yeah. What's up?
You want to come on in? Come on in. Look at your mom.
Yeah, you can't. There she is. Hi, Mom.
We're a little sweaty and cute today.
Did you ever think my mom would be proud of me as a weed farmer? I would have thought that.
All right, what's strange again? I saw some Gorilla Glue floor.
Yeah, so let's see. Okay, so things that we can see from here, right behind us, we have triple chocolate chip and platinum OG. We've got forbidden flower in here, forbidden fruit, Devil's Johnson, a whole bunch of really nice sour diesel, one of my favorites. We actually have some Kim over there as well. So we got some
Love the Kim.
Grateful cuts represented here. Hell's Fire, which is a really nice one from DNA, I believe. What else? Gorilla Glue. We got a bunch going in here. Lots of fun stuff. We have some orange creamsicle that's coming. That's absolutely in. Cherry AK is one of my favorite smells going in here. We also have a jellyfish, which is a strain that's kind of exclusive to us. It's actually a real high CBD strain. So that's about 0.5% THC, so almost none, and about 15% CBD. So it is it's almost like a glass of Chardonnay compared to a shot of tequila. Great for going to bed or relaxation.
All right, I'll tell you what we're going to try to do. This might work and it might not, but I'm going to switch the cam and the mic to the laptop, and we're going to take the laptop for a little walk. FaceTime camera, build it. And we'll try.
That's got to be this one here.
Yeah, there you go. There's that one. And let me switch the mic out. Audio. I'm going to hand it down to you, Katrina, so I don't kill myself. And let's see. We are going to go with the build.
MacBook?
Yeah, MacBook Pro built.
Boom. Boom, boom. Yeah,
boom, boom.
Like still hears us?
Okay. Is everybody still hearing us? Okay. We're going to disconnect this thing. Disconnect this. All right.
You want me to get down and then you're going to hand it to me?
Oh, okay.
Look at that. Here, Graham, hold on to that. Okay.
So there you go. That's a greenhouse one. We've got 4 of these with flower in them, and then one that's a nursery. So
let's take them down. Should we take them down the road and show them where the flower, where the little babies are and stuff? We're gonna take a little stroll here and see if this is going to work for us on the Wi-Fi. If not, guys, it was great seeing y'all. What? No, we're just gonna go do this. This is gonna be fine. I got everybody here now.
See all the licenses hanging everywhere.
Yeah, here.
Everything's tagged.
This is like everything you need here.
Right. So those are the $1 million permits.
And your strains.
Jerry AK, Gorilla Glue, Wi-Fi, True OG, Sour Diesel. Oh man, it feels nice out
Oh, wow.
Beautiful California, Santa Barbara sun. Got the ocean straight ahead and the Santa Barbara mountains straight behind.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a pretty lucky place.
So what were they growing in here before?
It was orchids, Phalaenopsis and Cymbidium orchids is what had been here for the last 10 years. And I think they moved their orchids down to somewhere where cannabis isn't allowed, and we came in and filled the space up where it is.
Were you able to get it at the price of the orchid price, or was all of a sudden no cannabis price?
I think it worked out well for everybody. I think the orchid guy was able to go down to some place where the land was less expensive and cannabis wasn't allowed. I mean, we paid a premium, but at the end of the day, that's kind of we're gonna run a premium crop out of here, so it works out. And it's great for the school district where the property tax goes up, and that means that the school district has more money. So I think it's a win for everybody.
How many different operations would you say were here growing legally?
There's probably about 20-ish operators in this area. And Santa Barbara County is actually a great ag county. It's been doing ag for a long time, and this is a new agricultural crop, and it's it's been a real benefit for the county. Right now, I think, with COVID going on, everything else is down 90%. All the revenue's down. There's no tourists. There's no hotels. There's no restaurants. And double what they forecasted. So there's 10 million new tax revenue for the county of Santa Barbara, and it's going to keep the libraries open and the sheriff's employed and the firefighters employed. They set aside $3 million for COVID relief stuff. So it's like, it's been a real boon for the county. The jobs, almost 1,000 employees in Carpinteria working at cannabis farms who are all paying their rent and buying groceries and filling their cars with gas and everything we need to do to keep the
economy going.
Keep the world spinning.
Yeah, so, this is one of the things. Cannabis industry wasn't really, or at least on the stock market and everything like that, was dying.
Yeah, well, that's because those are, for the most part, those are Canadian companies, and Canada is a country that's smaller than the state of California, and ending up with 100 million or whatever the number was square feet of cultivation for 35 million people just doesn't make a ton of sense. So that's, I think, the beautiful thing. California is the 5th largest economy in the world, right?
Yes.
If we were a country, we'd be the 5th largest country. So we're in 13 different states: the state of LA, the state of San Diego, the state of San Francisco. They just all happen to be within the borders of the country of California.
All right, so these are the system Graham was telling you about with these trays where they just slide them all over at will.
So one of the trays usually needs to be filled up with plants, and they're all in rollers, so we don't actually have to pick up a single plant. Instead, you can see when those are ready to flower, they'll come out on the track, and it's almost like a train, and it moves back to the.
And does the irrigation stay attached?
Yeah, it's all in here. It's a quick connect, so if you see it.
Oh, I gotcha.
One plug, when you move the tray, you connect that one plug there, and it hooks every plant up at once.
Wow.
Efficiency. That's how we can't make them lower the taxes, but we can make it efficient so that we can keep the price down and make it available to everybody. Casamigos of cannabis is what we're
the Casamigos of cannabis.
Yeah.
So these are your little babies, right?
This is just freshly planted. So this is they call it a clone, which means that it's a small cutting of a mother plant that we've turned into its own plant. Let's see. So you can see this is just getting started. You got the roots coming out here. So this used to be a piece of another plant. We rooted it in here, and now they are into this. This pot is where it will live the rest of its life. If we step over just a couple things.
So as they get higher, they don't need more space for the roots?
No, not really, because the way that we micro irrigate them, we give them all the nutrition that they need. They don't need a whole lot of space. They just need somewhere for the water to go. It's like a sponge almost. Because we'll irrigate these plants sometimes 6 times a day. So as soon as they suck the water up, we give them more.
So there's the little guys, and here's the next stage.
Yeah. So that's
a little bit bigger.
A couple weeks later, you can almost walk through it, right? This is another week older than that. You can see them get bigger. One of the really cool things you can see right now. So what are we? 5 o'clock. If you look at the leaves, See how the leaves?
Oh,
are all
yeah,
like that?
yes.
They're you can, if you look across it, you can see them. It's called the praying, is what we like to call it. They're all basically following the sun. So it's amazing to think of a plant which is literally bending its leaves throughout the day to track.
Yeah, they're all facing this way to get the most amount of sun.
Yep, exactly. And then you come over here and you've got plants just about ready to head to flower. So now you see spaced out more. So we call
Right,
it
a little bit more room to grow.
because they're gonna finish there, and so they got the trellis on them. It's hard
Oh, right,
enough
to keep them up. Here,
Yeah.
let's go over there and show that. So they have the netting here that they put the plants through to keep them from.
Yeah, so these plants, I mean, they'll end up this tall, and when these are heavy and fat with buds without any support, they fall over. So this just gives it a little.
It keeps them up.
Yeah, support, because these will look like the plants you saw back there, where you can't even see through it anymore.
And you can see down there the pink label on there. That's your track and trace. That's in a minute. And this is the irrigation system.
And then this is the cocoa. So this is what looks like soil. It's actually shredded coconut husk. Really cool, inert and natural antimicrobial, antifungal properties on it. And then we irrigate into that and give the plant.
It's better than soil. Here, check out the view of the babies. That is something else. They're beautiful, huh? Who would have thought? Who would have thought that we'd be in like this day and age now, where it's totally accepted? You know, for some reason today, I feel like Yule Hauser. I don't know what it is. Who would have thought that this plan? You don't know who Yule Hauser is. I'm going to be the Yule Hauser of cannabis, taking people on tours of different cannabis farms all over. It's stupendous, Graham. The whole thing is just like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. We're lucky to be here. This is a happy place, happy plants.
Let's go in the back and see some of those trees back there.
The trees back here are that's some of our moms. Actually, we can see one.
Oh, okay. Here we go. This is where you have the clones growing.
Yeah, so these are the clone.
Oh, so this is where you have to keep the light on all the time, right?
Yeah, you can see. So here you see like.
Oh, there's
all
the
those
lights.
And then these are LEDs. So
Oh, the LED
we can
lights.
pump quite a bit of light there.
See the LED lights
These
up
are
there?
like fresh little babies. That's the nursery. That's the newborns. So these are just hardening off, and let's see what we got in here. So you can see these things are just starting to root in there. So you can see the roots coming out, and then that next step for that will be to head into a bigger pot.
Wow, I love it. And here's the mamas. So the mother plants they get 24 hours of light to keep them growing, right?
We actually do 20 hours of light just to give them a little rest. But yeah, you gotta keep the light on them because you don't want them to start flowering at all.
Right, because once they start flowering, they're kind of done being a mom. And look, these all have the strains on the bottom. Lemon OG, the
All kinds of stuff.
Pog, the Mars one, Gorilla Glue number 4, and look at these beautiful. These are, jeez.
And again, you see all the leaves facing up.
Yeah, they're all facing us. I'm gonna dive in there, folks. It is. I'm gonna go up for the high angle here. The mothers are beautiful, but your plants don't really get this big because I didn't see anything with that kind of tree structure down there.
This is just for the moms, so we'll cycle these out every once in a while. But these are just moms. So to make a new plant, you take this right here. You add some rooting homer, and this will sprout its own roots, and then this becomes one of those big plants. This will be what we harvest, 3 months from now.
Wow. So if you just let them go, how big would they get?
Oh, you grow Christmas trees. I mean, they'll be hedges. You give them enough light, like they don't stop. They don't call it weed for nothing.
It grows and grows and grows. Wow, unbelievable. What do you think, guys? Want to get a tree? Want to plant? Are you selling clones? Do you sell clones in the shops?
I mean, we can't sell anything direct to any consumer. Everything.
But I meant in the shops. Do you sell clones?
We don't personally, but stores can. So
yeah,
it takes some work because you're now taking care of plants, and so you got to have good light and water and all that kind of stuff. So we don't have a big market for it. I'd say the best way for people to get plants is find a friend that's doing it because they can do the same thing, right? If this was my plant, I could say, hey, sure, Jeff, have 3 of these little tops and you could turn into 3 plants.
Right.
Totally allowed to give, one person can give it to another person personally. And it's no skin off somebody's back to give you a couple inches of a plant.
Absolutely beautiful. Do you ever think you'd be in this legitimately?
And part of me wants to say yes, and part of me wants to say no. Like,
not insinuating that you were in it any other way.
But yeah, I mean, it's an amazing time. lucky to be here. A lot of hard work, a lot of things we need to get better at, and and plenty of things ahead of us. But lucky to be here to have the opportunity to work on the problems we do.
Yeah, well, it's a beautiful thing. We're in a different day, different era, and eventually it's going to be legal throughout the country. I mean, right now, are you just selling in San Francisco?
We sell all over the state of California. We can't leave the state because of the federal rules. So nothing leaves California yet. But I think we're making progress on that. Even this whole COVID thing feels like it's pushing people to reconsider. Like, does that make sense? We got 45 out of 50 states that allow it, and the federal government pretends that it doesn't exist and gets zero taxes from it. I mean,
well, you can see Virginia and New York are all like, "Hey, we got to get all in on this."
Yeah,
because they're getting killed in the black market right now.
I mean, it's all still there. There's no one who wants cannabis who isn't finding it. It just is not creating legitimate jobs. It's not creating tax revenue. It's like all these. There's only negatives to keep trying to keep it. Pretend it doesn't exist. So federal government would say it's legal and say send us 3% tax. Doesn't seem that hard. It seems like we could generate. What pulled us out of the Great Depression? Into prohibition.
Yes, I know, and hopefully this will work in our favor too, where we finally all get on the same page.
Seems like it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it does. Well, thank you, Graham. I appreciate you coming on and giving us a tour.
Yeah, pleasure.
I'll wrap up here with these guys.
Okay.
Thanks,
Awesome.
buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, guys. There you go, a Saturday edition from Glass House Farms. Check them out if you're in the California area. Check out some of those products. I am. But 420 Live. You can't get any more 420 Live than where we are today in this amazing greenhouse. I mean, come on. This is what it's all about. We're sharing the plant that we love and information about the plant that we love with everybody out there. So from me to all of you, this is my little treat. This is our first time that we've gone on the road with the show. And I do feel like the Yule Hauser and if you don't know who Yule Hauser is, you folks out there on the East Coast, you owe it to yourself to check out some videos. He was a guy that took everybody around California to show them all the beautiful resources of California. So in the true Yule Hauser thing, we are visiting some of our local industries, and cannabis, one of my favorites and one of everybody else's favorite out there. You know what they said? What happened with the Grateful Dead show when the weed ran out? You guys all know the punchline to that joke. Anyway, for 420 Live, well, I'm hot as hell. We are going to have Lawrence Longo on the show on Monday. On Tuesday, we're going to do a fish dinner and a movie preview with Tom Marshall and RJB. You're not going to want to miss that because we're going to get into it. And Wednesday, we have Scary Pool Party on. And Thursday and Friday, I know Friday we have Chromio on. Thursday, I'm still working on. But that's going to be our week coming up. I hope you guys will all tune in. You know where I'll be, 420. I hope you'll be here too. Peace, love, that's a half a love because I'm holding my laptop, and happiness to all you guys. Here's a half a hug because I don't want to drop my computer. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you guys on Monday. Now I got to figure out how to shut this off. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you soon. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your Memorial Day.